Right, welcome back. So we're going to cover our third question of this session, and that question is all about project management. So we had a question. It says, I've received a project proposal which has a project management line item in it. What is this, and can I ask for it to be removed? Which is a really good question, because it kind of feels like you're not getting this thing from it, aren't you? So like, I'm getting this website, or I'm getting this app or whatever, but like, I'm getting project management. Doesn't feel like something that you're actually receiving. So I think a lot of people tend to think, I don't want to have it in there. Can I get rid of it? It's going to cost me this much money. I want to remove it. So I think that splits up into sort of like, what is project management? What is this thing? And can we talk about what this actual thing is? And then obviously the benefits of it, or not. Maybe we should remove it. We'll find out. But anyway. So what is project management? I think Hannah's probably best just to answer this one.
Well, project management is generally around controlling change. So a project by its definition is a type of change. So it might be a change to a business. So actually building a website is going to change your business. Whether you like it or not, whether you realise it when you start out. It will touch on your internal processes. It'll touch on how you do marketing, how you do sales, all those sorts of things. So your business will inevitably be changed by your project. Yeah. So project management then, by that kind of working on from that, is about working with you to help you manage that change and to help you understand what change is coming, for you to know what and when things are going to happen, in what order they need to happen, for you, the client, to be ready with the bits that you need to provide it at the right time. It's generally a coordination of quite a lot of effort. I think that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I have pictures that normally I draw, but I think if I draw on this wall, we might be in trouble.
Sorry,
no, go on.
I was just going to say, so what happens if you don't have project, like, you know,
if you do get rid of it off the thing,
and you just kind of ignore it, what's the result?
Well, I mean, I know that when we do budgets, we always include an amount for project management, because we know that outside of the technical tasks, we need to have calls with our customers. We need to ask them questions about their business. We need to coordinate ourselves. We need to do all of those things. So if you take that line out and tell your developers you don't want project management, well, you can just sit in the dark and have your website delivered for you with no involvement.
But also, like, you can't actually complete a project without project management. Even if you don't know you're doing it, you're doing it because you're deciding what to work on that day, and you do communicate with the client, I hope. At some point throughout, so you're doing it anyway, so it needs to be there as a line item. It's just how seriously you take it.
Well, should it be itemised? Should it not just be?
Well, I was just going to say, because maybe this person's thinking, well, actually, it's a line item. What is it? Because it's never been in there before, but actually it has been in there before. It's just not been actually line item as project management. It's been absorbed into the other costs of the other line items in the project, I guess.
And that is one way that proposals do get written and sent out to people, isn't it? That, you know, sometimes project management isn't a specific line, but I think if you receive a proposal which is specifically talking about project management, then maybe it might give you a bit more confidence that these people are going to budget to have conversation with you and involve you.
Because if it's all about managing change, which is the project management part of the project, then are we ever suggesting that a project happens and nothing ever changes? I don't think we've ever worked on a website project where, you know, you've got these things that you want to do and then that's it. Nothing ever changes from start to finish. It just doesn't happen. Something always changes. And it could be that it changes because of technical reasons. It could be that it changes because the client wants to change their mind about something, which, let's face it, you know, business changes, so it's going to happen, isn't it?
Or often it's unforeseen things as well. You know, it's changing your mind, but also just something no one thought of.
I wonder what could be happening recently that's an unforeseen thing, you know, in the next few months. I don't know. The businesses might affect businesses.
Is there ever a size?
We'll not get into that. Sorry.
Is there ever a size of a project where it's just too small to really have project management as a
good question?
As a serious part of it.
I guess it depends what systems and processes you've got in place. So we use Trello, which actually cuts out for a lot of what a project manager traditionally used to do, which was field emails and phone calls and send messages around to people. And something like Trello, which is a ticketing system, can actually do away with a lot of that and is a very efficient thing.
Is it worth explaining a bit more about like I know how we use Trello, I suppose, and like how we think that's. And there's loads of other things, not just Trello, and they kind of work in the same way, don't they?
Yeah.
Trying to manage the project and that relationship between us and the client, or the team who's building it and the client. Is it worth looking at how that's used and what's expected?
I'm going to look at Keith for that one.
Really? What, the Trello flow kind of thing? So I guess we use Trello, which is a Kanban style project management tool. So it's...
What does Kanban mean?
Kanban.
It's, good question. So you might know the better definition.
No,
but it's basically where you have like lists. It's list-based and task-based, and you're kind of moving those tasks along the various columns of lists. It's what Trello is.
It's very visual.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Visual.
So what might those lists be then? If they're moving from list to list, why?
Well, so the thing that Hannah helped us set up was those different lists and how they kind of work together and the flow of them. So we would start with a backlog list, and that's everything that we think needs to happen on this project, from start to finish, and break it down into as small chunks as possible.
So just reversing a bit then. Yeah. So we've got a backlog list of all the tasks. If we take the task we talked about previously, which is the designer comes with some designs. Yeah. How many tasks would that be? Like every little tiny thing, or would it be like homepage as a task? That's
a really very good question, and I think people will have a personal preference on that for sure, because a card could be homepage, or it could be header, or it could be main navigation, or it could be menu item. Like, so
there's no set rule basically.
There's
it's
no
what
rules.
The project team are comfortable with.
It's about balancing the complexity of what's within that. If you have a homepage that is just a search box, a white page with a search box, like a famous company beginning with G, you might say, well, actually, that's just one card. But if you have a really complicated homepage, like maybe Amazon's homepage, you would split that up into several
different sections and things.
It's all about the complexity and context. So there's no black or white rule set.
It often changes as well throughout a project, because sometimes you start with those bigger cards and eventually you end up splitting them up. And then towards the end of a project, when maybe you're doing bug fixing and things like that, those are quite small little items, but they have their own card, just so you can keep track of them and keep the conversation.
I derailed you then about lists in that carry on. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Go back on track. I just wanted to pull what we were talking about there and back to project management. So all of that deciding about the complexity, deciding how to break tasks up, deciding the complexity and size of them, that is project management.
Yeah, it is,
That has to happen. Whether it's a specific line item or not, that is a task that has to happen. And ideally be communicated to the client with. They need to know what's going on.
Because then those tasks can be like dished out internally then between the people who are doing those tasks, and it makes that task a lot easier.
And also the client knows what's going on and what their involvement is, because no project should be done in the dark. That is just such a key point of project management.
And that's important to say, isn't it, that our clients get access to all of this, so they can see all this tasks and the way that they're going. So you're talking about lists, go on.
No, and it is a very visual thing. So and this is, as we kind of go through the lists, it helps a client and it helps the internal team to see where we're at in a project. So you have your backlog list at the start. That has everything that you might need to do. The next list, correct me if I'm wrong, is next priorities. So that's when you would take probably up to about 10 of those tasks and say, right, this is what we're going to focus on next. And really, like, you could argue that you don't need that list in some way, but it actually just helps you focus.
And who would decide what those 10 are?
The project manager, probably, or the client. It depends on the type of project. It depends on the type of project, I think.
And the team should have a really strong input into that as well. It should never be decided in isolation.
No, I think that's right.
So some people would call what you described there, Keith, with this list of 10 priorities as a sprint. In agile terminology, it might be called a sprint. We don't really call it that because it seems a bit jargony, really. But that is essentially the concept of it.
Absolutely.
I suppose to kind of bring it even further back, to kind of visualise the list almost just as a vertical column of post-it notes.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So just kind of that post-it note would be a card.
Yeah.
And then we're moving that post-it note across to the next
wall.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Across the wall from left to right.
It gives a nice pleasing effect of watching work happening and feeling a sense of stuff's happening.
So the objective is to get it from left to right
Yeah.
as quick as possible.
Yeah. And not have too many that get stuck.
And that next priorities list, I mean, it's useful in so many ways, but also just like as a developer, whenever you load up a board like that and you just see potentially hundreds of cards, it's overwhelming.
Where do I start? Basically.
And it's nice just okay, this is all I need to worry about right now. Just ignore all that for the time being. I'm focused on this, and it just helps you kind of get started and feel motivated. I think a little bit. So I guess the next thing would be that from that list of next priorities, we again probably as a team would decide who's going to work on each thing. Sometimes it's very obvious. If it's a front end task, it's going to be Jonathan and I probably. If it's a back end task, it's almost definitely going to be Mark. But we'll decide on those. Attach someone's face to the card so you can visually again see who's working on that. And then whenever they come to pick it up, we've got another list called in progress. So move it across to in progress, and really that's the list that you want to keep as empty as possible. It needs to have something in it occasionally, so otherwise nothing's getting done, but you want to kind of minimize what's in there, again just to kind of laser focus you on things. Hannah, you said something to me that's really, really stuck with me, like whenever we started working together, about work in progress like being the devil or something.
It's evil. Too much work in progress is evil.
And it's so true, because it just means you've got too much going on in your head, too many unfinished tasks, and it's just, if you can just finish those things off and move on to the next one,
so ideally
get a bit of closure.
One card from each user in that list, like just working on one thing.
Because when you have too much going on, stuff gets stuck. And then we all know what it's like when you lose momentum on something and you pick it up a week later and you're like, what was this?
But then to be realistic, it doesn't always happen,
does
it?
There's always some kind of overlap. Maybe some cards are influencing another.
Or you're waiting for some feedback from the client who can't answer straight away. We're not asking them to answer in half an hour, but so you, instead of stopping, you work on something else, don't you? And then you do something else. That makes sense, doesn't it?
But then sometimes, again, I guess that's the role of a project manager. The project manager might take a call and go, do you know what, there's so much stuff that's stuck. There's a bigger problem here. There's something going wrong. We need to stop pulling new cards in because this is just, getting so stuffed up.
And fix what the problem is, why they're getting stuck.
Exactly, maybe it's that we need something from the client, or that we need to fix something technically, or we're waiting on design or whatever. And again, that's a part of the role of the project manager, is to keep an eye on all of this, how it's all coming together. So if you take that line out, well, it's just disaster.
Exactly.
And then from in progress, they move to review, don't they? I think.
Ready for review.
Yeah, ready for review. So that's internal review, isn't it? With us, and then maybe also client review. And again, the client, because the client's on the board, you can put their face. When we say face, we just mean that they're a user on the board, and then they just get assigned to the card. We don't actually. It might, if you don't know Trello, I suppose that is a bit unusual. And then from there, it can either go backwards, then, can't it?
Yes,
if there's a problem with the card, obviously it's not past review, it would go back into the next priorities list and then follow that process again, or it would go obviously onto the done pile and it's done and it's finished.
It's a nice
done
moment.
So that's kind of project management, I guess. In our hopefully that explains how we do it and what it is and why it's important. It really is critical, isn't it, for a project?
Can I just kind of jump in with one more kind of key principle on the whole project management thing? And again, it's something that Hannah's kind of taught us since she's worked with us, is that to deal with difficult stuff as early as possible, as much pain at the start as possible, because the end of a project is always a bit fraught and like potentially not panicky, but you're approaching deadlines, you've got launch dates. And if you can just deal with as much difficult stuff early on as possible, and that's something Hannah's really good with us. She's like, this is a problem. We need to deal with this right now. Don't leave it. I know you've got loads of other stuff that you could get on with, but deal with this thing because it's going to come back to bite you. And I think that's just such a critical part of this whole project management process. It's like pain management.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Pain just gets worse. It festers the longer you leave it, and there always will be a certain amount of pain in a project. It's just inevitable. Yeah. The more complex the change, the more ambitious the thing that you're trying to do, the more pain you're going to feel. Yeah. And just deal with that pain, have a good relationship, take it on the chin, get it done, move on. So
fundamentally, what is project management giving, like good project management delivering to a client? What's the difference that they see in a project as a result?
I think.
What do you think, Mark?
And you might disagree, but I think it allows the client to see the progress of the project. It's not happening. It's transparent. It's not happening in the dark.
So it reduces anxiety levels.
Yeah. So that's one thing it does. Yeah. So that they don't just see, oh, you've started, and then 6 weeks later, here we go, you finished. Yeah. You know, you've got this journey in between. You can see things are happening, which gives them a bit more confidence. I think. Yeah. It's probably not the main thing, but I think that's important.
That's how I would summarise it. Yeah. Certainly the way that Highrise does project management is that the project management allows the client to be as involved as a team member. And completely, kept in the dark, involved and trusted and able to input, know what's going on at any given point.
It's back to what was my last question, wasn't it? It's a team, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like everyone, the client, the designer, the developer, they're all the team trying to work together, and this project management tool we use, it works really well, and other ones do the same things, don't they?
It's not the tool though that gives the project management. It's the people.
It's the people.
I always I'll go bang on.
So could you do it without the tool then?
You could, but it'd be a lot harder.
Yeah. So the tool just makes it easier and makes that
it's
process.
It's a tool, but the concept, the process, the heart of it comes from the people and the way that people work.
Yeah. You could even use a spreadsheet effectively for something similar.
Definitely. And there's loads of other tools other than Trello.
Asana is one, Redmine, Jira, Basecamp.
Facebook has one, don't use that.
Some are more complicated than others. We like Trello because it's actually really simple for us to understand, and also for clients it's quite straightforward to use. I found a lot of the other ones quite complicated to understand what's going on. But everyone's different. Everyone likes different things.
It's like the Google homepage to me, Trello.
Yeah.
Beneath the surface of the Google homepage, there's so much going on. And it's the same with Trello. You first look at Trello and you're like, oh, I can just drag these sticky notes around. It feels really easy. You dig beneath the surface, and the power and flexibility that's there is amazing.
Yeah. So I suppose let's sum up then. So the question was, I've received this project proposal, project management line item in, what is it and how can it be removed? Well, I hope we've explained what it is, that project management is pretty important to a successful project. Can you remove it? No, not really. At your peril. I think you should really keep it in there. Because it's probably going to be in there anyway if it's not a line item, isn't it? So, okay.